Technically speaking, technically speaking, I ain't talking vegan when I said that I've been eating, making money on the side, but I use it for the main. I'm speaking in code when I tech talk that financial freedom. Have a seat cause you gon' wanna sit up at my table, yeah. Plugged in that it, girl, IT with the cables, yeah. Network engineering is for you, it ain't no labels.
Welcome back to another lesson. We are defining the key security concepts, which would be threats, vulnerabilities, exploits, and mitigation techniques. Now let's start in why security is so important in today's digital world. Excuse me, guys. In today's digital world. Now just think about it like this. A solid network security system can help businesses dodge data theft and sabotage. It keeps harmful spyware off our workstations and ensures that any data we share stays secure. Plus, managing heavy traffic helps prevent system stability issues and potential vulnerabilities. Okay, so let's go ahead and explore some of the key aspects of security and understand why these are so crucial in our world that's interconnected. Now let's talk about threats. A threat is any potential danger that could exploit a vulnerability to breach security and cause possible harm. Threats can come from various sources and take many forms. Those forms include natural threats, events such as earthquakes and floods or fires, human threats. These can be human threats like unintentional threats, accidental actions that can compromise security. For instance, an employee accidentally deleting important files, or intentional threats like deliberately trying to cause some harm, like hacking, malware, or even like those phishing links that you click and direct you somewhere else. Another threat to think of is environmental threats. These can come from power failures or temperature changes, or even when we talked about Ethernet cables, electromagnetic interference, right? Those things can be in a form of environmental threats. Okay. Now, I'm sorry. Now let's identify vulnerabilities. And a vulnerability is just a weakness in a system or an app or even in a network that can be exploited by a threat to gain some type of unauthorized access or cause some type of damage. And vulnerabilities can exist in these type of forms, such as software vulnerabilities, like bugs or flaws in the software. Those can be exploited. Hardware vulnerabilities, such as flaws in hardware components, configuration vulnerabilities, like incorrect or inadequate configurations on a system or software. And then we have human vulnerabilities, right? Humans can make the errors, or you can just have lack of training, which can cause the errors as well. So these are some of the vulnerabilities that can come in these different forms, and we must ensure that we can understand them and mitigate those risks. Now, moving on to okay, so I just wanted to show you guys the Trello desktop application. This is where all of our exam prep notes will be stored. So if you have access to the exam prep notes, or if you're in the boot camp, this is our Trello workspace that we will come to and collaborate our knowledge and questions, comments, concerns. You will still use the Discord for your primary communication, but this is where all the material is housed. And I just want to give you just a quick little run through. Now, right now, we are doing the CCNA/Net Plus learning. So as I do the lives or I do recorded videos, I will post them here. And as you can see, we're going to start off in this board, which is called the CCNA/Net Plus. You'll start here for all notes. Now, you definitely can click on this, right? And it will give you some information like the Google Drive. That's where everything is housed in our drive if you can't find anything. This is also where I will possibly tag you to say, here, start on this board and work your way through. These right here are the exam topics. You can click on it and see it's an attachment as well as a link. All right, click out of it. You can click into this card, which is the Computer Networking 101 ebook. It's just the ebook with the computer networking all comprised in it. Not as deep as the CCNA, but it talks about it in general. So you can get a general aspect of how computer networking works, basically how computers talk to each other, right? You get this ebook for free. It is $25 on the website, but since you signed up for the boot camp or for the exam prep notes, you get this ebook for free here. We also have the CCNA Quizlet. So these are our flashcards or play little games with the terms. So it can help you retain this information as you go through these modules. Each module, right, as you can see, has its own list. So we have network fundamentals, network access, IP activity, moving on. Each exam topic is listed in its own video. As you can see, the lesson 1.2, lesson 1.3, 1.6 and 7, and they're all here laid out for you. And then at the end of the section, such as section 1, you will have an exam, a pop quiz, just a test exam, just to test your knowledge, see if you retain some information. If you haven't, it would be best for you to go back and review the things that confused you or you just wasn't able to retain, possibly even going back to the Quizlet. But if you are confused and the videos are not helping you, the resources are not helping you, please utilize Discord and we'll be glad to get you caught up to speed. To the exploits, right? And when we kept saying exploit, an exploit is just a method or technique that is used to take advantage of said vulnerability, right? To carry out that attack. So exploits can actually be automated or manual, and they can target all type of vulnerabilities, such as like malware, software design, to exploit vulnerabilities. Social engineering, manipulating individuals into performing actions, right? To give you confident information, even network exploits, where the attacks is like a man in the middle or a DOS, a denial of service. And when we say man in the middle, that's like a hacker trying to put itself in between, for instance, the users and the switch, because the switch is where the users would gain access to the network. When the switch will take that data all the way up to the router, right? We can even say the access points, okay? The APs, the wireless APs, all right? And an attacker could get in the middle of you and that access point, or that access point and the switch, and act as a trusted source, you know? So we want to definitely make sure that we do not have such exploits, and we can, like I said, mitigate our risk here. Now, talking about, I'm sorry, guys, talking about mitigating our risk, mitigation techniques are literally just strategies and measures that we are implement to reduce the risk of any type of threat or vulnerability or even exploit, right? So these mitigation techniques could be patch management, where we regularly update our software or fix any known vulnerabilities. Another mitigation technique can be access control, where we're implementing strict access measures to limit who can access a certain resource, hardware or software. Firewalls, and when we talked about IDS and IPS, intrusion detection or intrusion prevention systems, we can implement that. Encryption, we can protect our data by converting it, excuse me, into a secure format, you know, so it can't be easily read by people who are unauthorized to access that. Definitely security awareness training. We want to ensure that our employees are educated about security and best practices. And literally just regular audits and assessments. You know, we're just going to conduct regular security audits and vulnerability assessments to address potential security weaknesses. These mitigation techniques is something that not only you do as either a network engineer or someone who's in the IT department, but also you would ensure that you do it as an end user. Maybe you're just an end user in your own home network or an end user at work, right? We want to ensure that you are implementing best practices, best security practices, by not just clicking any link that comes to you, by ensuring that your computer's up to date, your software, you can run those up to date on your phone, up to date. Again, we want to ensure that our risk is reduced because we do not want to be exploited. If you can kind of see a little bit here, it's kind of cut off. But again, we just want to protect our data, protect the systems of our data, and really just understanding these key security concepts, you can better protect systems and your data from various security threats. So you just have to remember that this is an ongoing process and it just requires continuous attention and improvement, right? We're just all like, I would say every quarter. Well, it depends on the company you work for, the job, or whether it's you doing this, but you will go through such phases of understanding threats, assessing vulnerabilities, and implementing these mitigation techniques so you can reduce that risk of successful attacks. Okay. So this is just the start of our basic security so you guys can understand the key concepts and when you dive into security, you automatically want to understand what threats, how you can define threats, vulnerabilities, exploits, and mitigation techniques.